We want to take a look at Arista Networks. That means it's time for our morning trade. Arista Networks unveiling its very latest guidance at the company's Investor Day. Marley Kayden has been taking a look at this. Marley, what's the very latest here?
Yeah, like you said, they had their Investor Day yesterday, and Arista Networks forecast revenue growth that was 20% higher than it has been for fiscal 2026, up to $10.5 billion. That was above the consensus estimates at its Analyst Day. They're also saying that they see their fiscal year 2026 revenue for its AI networking revenue up 70% in 2026 to around $2.75 billion. And that's up from $1.5 billion this year, of course, amid this capital spending boom that we're seeing at these cloud computing companies. They're saying that AI revenue will come from both front-end network switches as well as back-end Ethernet networking technology. And that's the technology that connects the clusters of AI servers in those cloud computing data centers. For the fiscal years 2026 to 2029, Arista said that it expects mid-teens revenue growth and is predicting long-term operating margins in a range between 43% and 45%, which is about 4 points lower than it was in fiscal 2025. Now, a lot of analysts that cover the company did deem this outlook conservative, given the company's large product deferred revenue balance, Nicole.
All right. Well, you know, when we think about how the analysts are responding right now, the stock is down about 7%. What about, you know, even though they've given the updates on the full year guidance, what are the analysts saying now?
I was actually really surprised when I pulled the chart before speaking with you that they are down today. That could be just that they hit an all-time high yesterday. They hit an all-time high of 156.32. So maybe just seeing a slight pullback off of that. But analysts overwhelmingly positive on this Analyst Day. We saw raised targets from Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Wolfe Research, Evercore ISI. I'll walk you through some of the more notable ones. Barclays raised their price target to $179 from $151. Kept an overweight rating, saying the company has potential upside given the broad-based momentum. Bank of America said that the event, quote, highlighted Arista's superior technology and expanding opportunities. They also reiterated their buy rating and a price target of $175. Melius Research raised their price target to $185. JP Morgan raised theirs to $175. Morgan Stanley did a pretty comprehensive note here and said that they thought that Analyst Day highlighted the multiple ways in which they could win in a $105 billion total addressable market, highlighting a variety of solutions to address the AI opportunity. They noted that the headline numbers were ahead of expectations and also noted that their campus opportunity is still largely untapped. They only have a 3% share there, so they think that that is a potential huge growth driver for them. And Morgan Stanley also said that they walked away encouraged as conservative companies set out better than expected numbers and expect the stock to trade closer to the bull case in the near term. And just for some perspective, Nicole, shares prior to are up 78% right now in the past 6 months, and they did hit that record high of 156.32 yesterday.
Yeah, and look, 50% in just 3 months. I mean, incredible. What a story here in the highs yesterday. So thank you, Marley Kayden. A good look there at Arista Networks. And we want to go ahead and give you a trade with this. Dan Deming, managing partner, KKM Financial, is with us. This stock went from $59 up to $156 in a very short period of time. How would you go about an example trade today, Dan?
Yeah, Nicole. Yeah, you know, the reaction is, I think, is a little bit telling in the sense that maybe Arista got a little bit ahead of itself as we continue to see this evolution in the AI space. And some of these names, even Oracle coming off of that massive gain from a couple of days ago, you're seeing at least a little bit of second guessing as far as valuations at these levels. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't continue to move higher. But I think in Arista's case, or Arista, you know, there's a potential here that we could see a move back down towards that 130 level before it finds some support as, again, this reaction today coming off those all-time highs. So in the trade example today, I'm looking at selling in October 135 put. You can do that right now versus 142 versus stock around $4. So basically, you collect about 3% versus the stock over the next 35 days and have the opportunity to get put in closer to that 130 level where I find, from a technical standpoint, some support.
And so at this point now, thank you for that. We want to talk about just the big picture on the market action. We started off, look, we've had some back and forth action, a lot of specific stories, stocks, and economic news. How do you feel? Because we did see record close yesterday for the major averages in the NASDAQ, hitting a record today. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about the market action now, going forward, too.
Well, relatively positive in the sense that we're almost halfway through September, and we haven't noticed any major disruption yet as far as September being typically a very challenging month for the market. Now, today's going to be critical, Nicole, because you still have some euphoria here, particularly in the tech sector, as we're seeing some of the names continue to maintain upward momentum. But overall, you're seeing a little bit of hesitation in the broader market right now. And again, the expectations are the Fed's going to cut. That's all been priced into the market. So really, it's more about what the Fed's going to say next week as opposed to what they're going to do. So I think that's going to be a key focus. But we are, I should say, a little cautious here in the sense that the next couple of weeks, we still see the possibility for some weakness in the market before maybe finding some further upside as we move into October. But even with this new all-time highs here, Nicole, you're seeing dispersion in the market that's causing us a little bit of pause at these levels.
All right. Just a quick thought about the Fed and how the market may react on Fed Day when we get the announcement. Are you expecting knee-jerk reactions one way or the other?
Only if they are outside of what the market anticipates. That's basically indicating that I think the market's priced in 3 rate cuts now, potentially by the end of the year. Now, if there's any variance from that as far as the expectations, if the Fed chair indicates that maybe they're going to take a little bit more of a wait-and-see attitude, maybe the labor market certainly appears to be softening, but then you had the CPI data coming in pretty much in line. Inflation versus job data really is what it's going to be about. But I expect the Fed's going to maintain what would be viewed as a more dovish tone. And is that enough? I guess the question is that enough to maintain this upward momentum in the market?
Dan, great to see you. Catch you next week. Dan Deming, Managing Partner, KKM Financial. Appreciate it.